Hi, and thanks for joining me for today's yoga class. My name is Sam, and I will be teaching today's beginner Hatha yoga class for the heart chakra. Heart chakra is represented by the color green, which is what I'm wearing today. Today you'll need a couple of blocks, a bolster or a pillow if you have those, just for one pose toward the end, so no pressure if you don't. We will get started in a cross-legged or comfortable seat in the middle of your mat. I'm gonna sit on the pillow because I like to do that for meditation, just because it helps me focus and stay present. And so that is obviously the purpose of dropping in here in our opening meditation, just to start to open your heart and observe. So we can start with the physical body, start by observing the breath, just noticing how you feel in your body today. And let's try to go beyond just noticing to really observing and being interested in and being curious about your physical state, your mental state, your emotional state, and your spiritual state. So we're stepping outside the self just to observe what we're experiencing. Right away, start to connect with the sounds and sensations of the breath. And just start allowing yourself to let go of any thoughts that are not serving you right now. Practicing non-attachment to our responses to the environment. Not passing judgment, just observing. Just settling into our bodies, connecting with the mat. Today we'll be focused on the heart space, so let's start to bring that mindfulness about posture, maybe roll the shoulders back a little more, lift the chest up toward the sky. Staying open through the chest, ready to give and receive love. And also forgiveness, compassion, self-care, all of those things associated with love. So let's try to maintain that connection to those concepts and that connection to the heart space, to the chest, to the shoulders throughout this practice. Just being open to all of the benefits of the heart chakra practice. So the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual benefits. You can keep your eyes closed or close your eyes at any time during the practice. We're going to start by incorporating some gentle, loving movement through the head and the neck. So you can start just by drawing small circles with the nose in any direction. Let your body guide you. Maybe expanding those circles or exploring other movement. Just nice and gentle here, easing into movement, trying to stay connected with the concepts and physical locations that we're focusing on in this class. So as you start to draw those bigger circles, feel free to reverse those circles. Maybe explore certain parts of those circles. I like to tuck my chin toward the bottom here and just rock back and forth. And let the physical sensations guide your movement. So listen to your body, stay curious. And as you observe what you feel, just try to articulate to yourself internally exactly what you're feeling and where in the body. And this can really help you get grounded and connected to the physical body and to be more mindful and more aware. So keeping the chest and the heart space nice and open, shoulders back. Exploring what you're feeling in the neck. When you feel satisfied there, you can slowly close your circles, coming back to stillness. Remembering that open heart space. You can open the eyes if they're closed, and we'll just incorporate another little neck stretch here by dropping the right ear over the right shoulder. Just extending that left palm down toward the mat. Fingertips are flipped up toward the forearm. And once you're down here at the end of your range, you can kind of draw little circles with the heel of your palm, or just feel gently left to right and notice the connection that you feel with the neck, the chin tucked. You can close your eyes if it feels good. And if you need a little more intensity, you can very gently, carefully bring your right hand just to rest on the left ear, very softly, not pulling it. Find that connection between the palm and the neck. Just stay present in what you feel. Remember also to stay connected with the breath. Let your body know it's okay to relax. This is your practice. You're in control. When you feel satisfied, you can gently, lovingly come back to center, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Dropping that left ear to the left shoulder, maybe tucking the chin a bit. Bringing that right palm out to the right and lowering it to the outside of your hip. Fingertips are flipped up toward the ceiling. So a lot of tension through the palm and the front of the forearm here, keeping that tightness. Try to find that connection between the back of the neck and the palm. Feeling that long, energetic channel. And remembering to incorporate your breath work. You can gently draw circles with that right palm, or just roll gently side to side. Let your sensations guide you. Stay interested, stay present in what you're feeling. And remember, you can always rest your left hand gently on the right ear if it feels good. Not pulling, not forcing. Just moving with love for the body you inhabit. Feel free to explore, try different angles, different micro movements. Be curious. Seek that connection with the body. Take your time there, and when you're ready, we'll come back to center. Remembering that nice open heart space, that nice posture. From here, we're going to bring the palms together in front of the heart space, and then open them up as wide as you can to the left and to the right, bringing the shoulder blades together, really lifting the chest, maybe lifting the gaze up toward the ceiling or the sky. Take a big inhale, and then slowly bring the palms together toward one another. We'll send the right arm under the left. And there's a couple variations here. We can continue to wrap the arms all the way around to the front of the chest, bringing the palms to the upper back and walking the fingers closer together. Or when we bring the arms together, we can come into eagle arms here. So it's just another variation of that same thing. So you're going to bring the arms toward one another, right arm under the left, bend at both elbows, and then try to bring that right palm into the left palm, wrapping around that lower arm. So once you find your bind here, this is called eagle arms. On your next inhale, lift the elbows if you're in eagle arms, even if not, if you're just in an embrace. And on your exhale, curl the elbows inward toward the rib cage. Relax the head and neck. Just allow yourself to turn inward. Giving ourselves the space and grace just to be. Just to be here now. Enjoy the fullness of your breath here. Notice that expansion through the upper back. Starting to stretch through the back of the shoulders, the rear delts, the trapezius, the rhomboids. And on your next inhale, or when you're ready, you can slowly lift the elbows back up. Unravel the arms, we'll open up again, really opening up that heart space, lifting the chest up toward the ceiling. Check out your range. And then once again, bring the palms toward one another, this time left arm under the right. Same thing here, bend at both elbows to bring that left palm to the inside of the right palm. Or just bring the left arm under the right, walk your fingers toward one another in the upper back. Either way, we'll lift the elbows on our next inhale, and as you exhale, let something go. Turning inward, relaxing through the head and neck, feeling your own embrace or that big stretch through the upper back. Giving yourself a little love, a little affection, a little attention. And remembering your mantra, I am worthy of the love that I give to others. Stay here as long as you like. When you're ready, follow your inhale as you curl back up to sitting, remembering that nice posture through the spine, opening up the palms left to right again, checking out that range. Maybe it's different, maybe it's not. Either way, opening up the heart space, lifting the chest toward the ceiling, maybe lifting the gaze or closing your eyes. And then gently coming back to center, resting your hands on your knees. You can keep the pillow here. I'm going to remove it just for the sake of anchoring my hips to the mat for this next part. I'm just going to do a little side body stretch, and feel free to change whichever leg's in front if you want to switch it up. Work on flexibility and mobility in both hips. When you're there in your comfortable seat, we're going to start by bringing that right palm just to the mat next to our hips, fingertips pointed away from us, maybe toward the top edge of your mat. And just resting the palm there, we're gonna first focus on feeling anchored through the hips. So make sure you're nice and grounded here. And we're gonna focus on that as we start to slide the palm away from the hips, coming down toward the elbow or forearm. So your elbow doesn't have to touch. You can stay just up here if it means your hips stay more anchored. So wherever you are, check that out. Once you're there, we'll take a moment, check out your hip situation. Mine's coming up a bit. Try to get grounded, try to get balanced before we incorporate the next part, which is just swinging that left arm up and over to hover over that right arm. So you're really looking for that side body stretch here, trying to stay grounded through that left hip. Feeling the expansion of your inhale. Maybe shifting your gaze toward the ceiling, noticing that connection, noticing how that changes the sensations of the body. And even maybe exploring by sliding that left hand forward and then back. Just checking in with your body, noticing where you are, what you feel, how you feel. Keeping that hip nice and anchored. And coming back through center when you're ready, slowly, gently, mindfully curling back up. So we'll do the same thing on the second side. Start by bringing the left palm to the mat, fingertips facing away, maybe toward the bottom edge of your mat. And then we're gonna slide that left palm away from the body, coming down onto that forearm or just bending at the elbow, wherever you're comfortable. Once you're there and you're grounded through that right hip, you can bring that right arm up and over to hover over the left. Noticing what you feel in the side body especially. Maybe pulling that shoulder back to open up that heart space a little more. Connecting with the breath, staying anchored through that right hip. And just observing, noticing what you feel. Incorporate that movement if it feels good. This is your practice. We'll take a couple more cycles of breath here. Find what you need. When you're ready, we'll slowly, gently, mindfully come back up to sitting. From here, we're gonna roll forward onto all fours or get there however you get there for cat-cow. And you can let your breath guide you in the movement here. So move at your own pace, listen to your body, feel free to explore. On your inhale, you'll drop the belly, tilt the pelvis, really open up that heart space, lift the gaze. And on your exhale, you'll press into the palms, press into the tops of the feet, curling the low ribs inward, stretching through the upper back and the backs of the shoulders. So sync up with your breath. Move at the pace that is your natural breathing rhythm. Really enjoy the full sensations of a complete inhale and exhale with every cycle. When you feel good there, you can also incorporate any other easy organic movement. So I like to press the ribs along an imaginary barrel, or like pretend you're inside of a big pipe or something, just to move through the full articulation of the spine. And just notice what's happening in the shoulders when you do this, just what you feel, what you might hear. Any limitations? And just be curious about that. Try to articulate to yourself what you feel, what you hear, where, and then try to explore those sensations. When you feel satisfied there, you can come back to a neutral spine or tabletop position, just all fours. And you can also check in with the shoulders here just by dropping the chest down between the shoulders and then pressing the torso up and out. So we don't move our shoulders often in this way. So just check in, notice what you feel, notice what you hear, if anything. Notice any asymmetries, not for judgment, but just to observe. And when you feel good about that, we'll come back to that neutral spine and tabletop, and we're going to come into our tiger pose to stretch through both shoulders. So for tiger pose, we'll start by lifting that left heel up toward the ceiling, and I shift my right leg in a little bit, like maybe a 1/2 inch, just for balance. But you're going to bend that left leg to 90 degrees at the knee, same thing at the ankle. So both your foot and knee are flexed. So from here, find your focus, pick a point on the ground, fix your gaze. You're going to sink your weight into your left palm and your right shin, bringing that right palm to grab that lifted foot, and then pressing up and away. Don't forget to find your focal point. Notice what you feel in the shoulder, through the chest, opening up that heart space. And when you feel good about it, you can slowly, gently, mindfully release to come back to all fours. We'll do the same thing on the second side at your leisure. So when you're ready, maybe shift that left shin in a 1/2 inch toward the center line of the mat, if you need to. We'll send that right heel up toward the ceiling, knee bent at 90 degrees, ankle flexed at 90 degrees. And then find your balance. You're going to sink your weight into that right palm, bringing the left palm to the outside edge of that right foot, and then pressing up and out, up and away toward the ceiling. Both forces are opposing each other. You'll get that nice stretch through the shoulder, through the chest. It's even good for that torso twist, for glute strength, quad strength. Find your focal points, find your breath. Remember your mantra. And when you're satisfied, you can slowly, gently, mindfully release. We'll bring the big toes into touch, send the knees wide, hips back, and walk the palms forward, forehead toward the mat. For your extended child's pose, take a breath. Remember, this is your practice. Give yourself space and grace. Our mantra is, I am worthy of the love that I give others. We're opening up the heart space for compassion, forgiveness, self-love. We're letting go of something heavy here, just leaving behind what's not serving you. Enjoy that sweet relief of surrender to yourself. Just feeling supported by the earth and the mat, grounded and connected to the earth. When you're ready, bring your awareness to the fingertips. We'll press into them and walk them over to the left. Find your range, meet your edge. Melt the head and heart down toward the mat. Just observing, just noticing. Walk those fingertips a little bit further if you want. Or just stay nice and passive here, whatever you need to support the theme of today's class. When you're ready, bring your awareness to the fingertips again. We'll walk them over to the second side. Again, find your range. Melt it down wherever is comfortable and right for you and your body today. And then maybe walk those left fingertips a little bit further. Just noticing that connection, that long line of energy from the fingertips all the way to the hips. When you're satisfied, walk your fingertips back through center one more time. From here, we'll come back up to all fours. And then we're going to spend some time just coming back onto the heels. So we'll start with a little ankle stretch here. So all you're going to do is sit back on the heels, get comfortable here. We won't be here long, so if it's tough on the knees, hang in there. And then we're just gonna rest our palms on top of the thighs near the tops of the knees. We'll start with the left hand. I'm just gonna use my left fingertips around the front of my left knee just to grip it. I'm gonna press down on my right knee gently and just lift the left one up, opening up the heart space, maybe lifting the gaze. We're just stretching through the front of the ankle here before we transition. But also looking for that opportunity for self-love and to open up the heart space. So checking in with your posture, especially in the upper back, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chin a little, pressing that heart space up toward the sky. When you feel satisfied, we can gently release. We'll do the same thing on the second side at your own pace. We're going to wrap the right fingertips in front of the left knee just to grab it. Press down on that left thigh as you pull the right knee up toward the chest. And then roll the shoulders back, open up the heart space. Close your eyes if it feels good. Connect with the breath. Let your body know it's okay to relax. This is your practice. You're in control. And just observe here the sensations, what you're feeling and where. So let's gently, lovingly release that second knee. We'll come into a toe stand here so you can rock forward a little bit just to curl the toes under. And as you curl the toes under, let's try to identify that connection with each toe and the mat. So spread through the toes, make sure your toes are all touching the mat in the same way that your fingertips would. You might already feel a big stretch through the foot, and that's great. Try not to press too far. But we'll just walk the hands up the knees, coming into that nice long posture again. Resting the hips on the heels. It might be a little intense. A lot of us don't stretch our feet in this way, so give yourself breaks if you need to. And otherwise, just connect with the breath here. And we'll incorporate a little torso twist by swimming that left hand around behind us, right hand to the outside of the left thigh, and just pulling that left shoulder back. You can use a yoga block too if you want to touch back here. Same thing on the second side, just a little torso twist, being mindful of the feet. And then we'll come back onto all fours. From here, we're going to come into a dolphin pose, so you can center yourself with that neutral spine and tabletop. There's a couple of ways to get into this pose. I think that this one is the safest, and it will help strengthen the shoulders. So what we're going to do from here is come down onto our forearms, palms on the mat, kind of like Sphinx pose. And then you're gonna walk your lower body into downward dog. So you can curl the toes under again, lift the hips up high and back, bringing the heels toward the mat. Maybe they don't touch, that's okay. The most important thing is that you have a flat back here. Bring your focus down to the mat, to between the forearms. And we're gonna spend some time here. Feel free to close your eyes if it feels good. Connect with the breath. You're really pressing the hips back. You should feel, or you may feel, an intense stretch through the hamstrings, the calves, and your shoulders are doing a lot of work here. So in case you need to take a break from this pose, you'll come out of it by bending the knees and bringing the knees back down. So that's the safe way to enter and exit this pose. I would encourage you just to take a minute here, just to quietly build strength in the shoulders, notice what you feel, and try to stay connected with both the breath and the sensations in the shoulders. So this is what's called in personal training an isometric hold, which can be one of the most effective forms of strength training. There's no movement in this exercise, but your shoulders are doing a lot of work, and you probably feel that. Other isometric hold examples are just the plank pose, which is hard, of course, and you're not moving, and then the wall sit is another good example. These are all great for building strength and resilience. And when you've had enough of that, bend into those knees, bring them back to the mat. So if you want to build strength in the shoulders, I would encourage you to incorporate dolphin pose. If dolphin pose was really difficult for you and you want to work up to it, downward dog is a good place to start. So we're going to get into our downward dog here. We'll move through a couple of vinyasas. But first, let's find our downward dog, hips up high and back, feet are about hip width apart. Should be mostly straight through the knees, but feel free to bend if it means you have a flat back. Your hands are rotated slightly outward, a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. And once you've found your good downward dog, let's stretch through the hamstrings a little further, just by sinking your weight into that left hand, lifting the right hand, and then bringing it to the outside edge of that left calf, or maybe left knee, left shin. Just noticing what you feel here, maybe looking underneath that left armpit for a little change in perspective. And then bring it back to the mat. We'll try the same thing on the second side. Again, we're building strength in the shoulders here. Just asking the shoulders to support a lot of the load. This is a great way to build strength without movement. Okay, from here we'll go through, we're gonna walk the hands a little bit forward into plank pose. We'll slowly lower to the belly. When you press up for cobra, think about opening up that heart space, pulling the shoulders back, leading with love and self-care. And then relax back down to the belly. We'll press up to plank. Building more strength in the shoulders, hips up high and back for downward dog. Feel free to just stay in stillness here or pedal through the feet if you want to work through the hamstrings and calves a little more, or take that stretch that I just showed you for a second time. Wherever you are, we're gonna continue that expansion through the heart space. We're gonna do one more vinyasa. This time we're gonna try upward dog instead of cobra. So I'll demonstrate that really quickly in case you don't remember. When we lower to the belly, we're gonna lower about halfway and then roll onto the tops of the feet, really pressing open through the heart space, pressing the pubic bone, the hips down toward the mat, but my thighs are not touching the mat. So this is just a variation of cobra. This is called upward facing dog. So from your downward dog, settle in when you're ready. If you're moving, find your stillness. We'll walk the hands forward to come into our upward dog. So lower halfway, roll onto the tops of the feet, open up the chest, lift the gaze, sink those hips down toward the mat. Elbows are in nice and tight to the body. Thighs are not touching the mat. Heart space is just shining forward. And then back up to downward dog. Good, okay, so from downward dog, we'll just lower back to all fours. We're gonna come into Sphinx pose. So coming back onto the forearms, sending the legs out long, lowering the hips to the mat here. And once you come onto the forearms, you're just gonna imagine pulling the elbows in toward the hips, opening up the chest, opening up the heart space, rolling those shoulders back. Just notice what you feel. Maybe in the back, the shoulders, the chest. Let's take a second just to reconnect with the breath. Close your eyes if it feels good. Remember, you're pulling the shoulders down and away from the ears. And you're pulling the elbows in toward the hips. So this is another static pose that can give you a lot of sensation depending on what you're experiencing in your body today. So from Sphinx, let's just look over our left shoulder at our left foot. And then same thing on the right. Look over your right shoulder at your right foot. Bring it back through center and we'll set up for a chest and shoulder opening stretch. So for that, we'll start on the left side, walking that left elbow to the outside edge of the left side of the mat. Coming down onto the chest, you can use your right hand to kind of guide you. We're gonna roll up onto our left hip, keeping that left arm where it is, stacking the knees, the hips, the ankles. And then right hand just starts under your right shoulder. You can just press gently into the mat. You may not even need to. Just start to notice what you feel through the chest, through the shoulder. Just remember your mantra. Remember what brought you here today. Allow yourself to settle in and just breathe. And if you're looking for more intensity or a deeper stretch through the shoulder and chest here, you can lift that right foot and set it behind you, or maybe just your toes behind you, pulling that right knee back. This will all intensify that sensation in the left chest, left shoulder. But also feel free just to keep the hips and knees where they are, to press in gently with your right fingertips or right palm. And bring a little more awareness if you're looking for more sensation. So really just being present in what you're feeling. Noticing what you feel. When you're ready to switch sides, to transition to the other side, we'll start by extending the legs out long, rolling onto the belly. You can come back into your Sphinx to set up. From here, we'll bring that right arm to the outside edge of the right side of the mat, and we'll use our left hand under the left shoulder just to guide us up onto stacked hips, stacked knees, stacked ankles on the right. So again, from here, you can just keep your fingertips or your palm on the mat. Press gently to find your edge. The sensation that you're seeking today. And if you need more intensity, I would recommend that you bring more awareness to the sensations that you're feeling and just be present in that. But you can also lift that left foot if you choose to, set it behind you, Open up that left knee, left hip, and notice how that affects that stretch through the right side chest. So find your preference, work where you are, respect where your body is today. We're winding down the practice. Just keep that in mind. And take your time on this side. When you feel satisfied, you can transition out by extending the legs out long and rolling back onto the belly. From here, we're actually going to roll onto the back. You can grab your block and keep it nearby if you want to. We're not going to use it quite yet, but it could be useful for bridge, which is what we're moving into next. So for bridge pose, we're really going to focus on shining the heart space up toward the sky, toward the ceiling, opening up the heart space and those energetic channels. Physically, we're going to also focus on the shoulders, so stay present there, and I'll give you a variation for this pose. For bridge, we're going to walk the heels up toward the hips, knees are bent, back is flat on the ground. You can keep your palms downward to start, just palms and forearms on the mat. Pressing into the heels, we're going to gently lift the hips up high to full extension. And then once you're there, if you want to, you can walk the shoulder blades together just to further stretch through the shoulders and open up and lift up that heart space. You can also interlace the fingers, really press them down toward the mat to again incorporate the shoulder stretch. Whatever variation you're in, you can also just open up the palms left to right, let them just lay passively, open toward the ceiling. Once you're at full extension, lift the hips a little higher, and then we'll lift the chin a little higher, and then lift the chest to meet the chin. So you might be at the edge of your range, or you think you are, but there's still more there. Enjoy a big inhale and exhale as you raise the heart space. Remember your mantra. Press up a little further. Notice the connections. Maybe you're feeling that heat, some energy through the back body. Stay present. Take up space. And slowly release, as slow as you can, lowering the hips toward the mat. So as a counter pose, I would like to do fish pose. So there's a couple ways to do that, and you will need the block or the pillow for that. One way to do it, if saddle pose is too intense on your knees, is just to keep the legs straight. We'll bring our block on, I guess, this middle length. Is it? Yeah, the longest of the width to the low back or just behind the hips. Walk the hands back and kind of mind your block a little. Make sure you are where you need to be. Come onto the elbows, shining the heart space up toward the sky again, rolling the shoulders back. If you want to, you can also use a second block to support the back of the head. Where is it? Okay. And then once here, you can also just use a pillow under the head. You can also just use a pillow under the back. And you can also adjust the length of either of these to be more comfortable on your low back based on what you need. So either way, once you're here, we're going to bring the arms up and overhead, maybe hook the thumbs together, and just allow the shoulders to fall apart and open up. If you're comfortable like this, you can stay like this. I'm going to adjust for another variation. I'm going to keep my blocks on the higher setting, and I'm going to bring my lower body into saddle pose. So for that, I'm bending into both knees, bringing the hip bones down to the mat. So I'm kind of sitting between my feet here. And you can widen the knees if it's too much pressure. Same thing, bringing that block to the low back area, just beyond the hips. Gently walking down to the elbows here. Maybe bringing my head to a block or a bolster or any apparatus that supports you. Doesn't have to be fancy yoga stuff. And then bringing the arms up and overhead, maybe hooking the fingers to open up through the shoulders. Again, pressing the heart space up toward the ceiling. Opening up those energetic channels. Being mentally, spiritually, emotionally open to giving and receiving love and compassion, forgiveness, kindness. And remembering your mantra, I am worthy of the love I give to others. If the shoulder aspect is too intense in this stretch, you can also just bring your hands to the feet. We're always looking for those opportunities. If your legs are out long, you can just rest your palms open on the left and the right. Let go of anything that's not serving you. Make sure you're not tensing in the hands, the face, the neck. When you're ready to come out, we'll do so slowly, gently, and mindfully. So from this variation, I'm going to start by bringing my elbows to the mat to make sure I have that support. Pressing onto the elbows, I can curl up. No matter what pose you're in, make sure you move gently and mindfully. Don't swing out of the pose, don't move quickly, give your body grace. And then we'll just come onto the back, maybe tuck the knees into the chest, rock side to side. Just allowing the hip flexors to shorten. And then we'll send the legs out long, one at a time. Open up the palms toward the ceiling. Grab your pillow if you want it. Coming into Shavasana. If you need any other movement, please feel free to take it now. Otherwise, we'll just spend 5 minutes in Shavasana just for a quiet meditation. Take this last opportunity to really expand your inhale and exhale, and to let something go. So we're using mindfulness to help us absorb and stay present in forgiveness and compassion, self-love and community love. In the physical body, you're doing a lot. You are clearing energetic blockages. You are encouraging good circulation and blood flow. You're releasing endorphins. You are processing cortisol and relieving stress. You're lowering your heart rate. You're contributing to the health of your heart and your lungs. So even if you have a hard time connecting with the concept spiritually or conceptually, just take this time to feel good in your body and absorb the nutrients of your practice. Before we close this practice, I'd like to extend my love, compassion, and empathy in a land acknowledgement. So I'd like to recognize the Monongahela, Osage, and Erie tribes whose lands I am teaching from. We recognize and honor their sacrifices. If you'd like to bring your palms together to rest gently at the third eye, or wherever feels right to you, you can join me in closing this practice. We recognize that yoga is an ancient spiritual practice tied to the subcontinent of India. We respect and honor that as well. We also recognize that yoga can be a community. I thank you so much for being part of my community today. I hope you got what you needed here today. And I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.